Hi, everyone, and welcome to our brand new Next initiative, our very own podcast series called Next Pharma Stuff. I'm Dario, the founder of Next and also the host of the upcoming Next Pharma Stuff, as we call it. And the purpose of the Next Stuff is to speak with many industry leaders, and we will speak about the ongoing challenges and interesting up-to-date topics from the pharma industry, meaning that different stuff will be covered. In our very first episode, please welcome our dear friend, José Maria or Chema. So, Chema, are you ready to speak about some actual pharma stuff?
Yes, I'm ready, and thank you for the invitation. I like to be friends with Next Pharma with you, Dario. So, thank you for inviting me today.
Thanks. We are even friends on Instagram, so it's certainly a friendship.
Exactly. Yes.
So let's deep dive into the conversation. We really consider you as very progressive and futuristic, which is very common for pharma, as we all know. So tell us a little bit more about how are you feeding your hungry, innovative machine?
Yeah, and thank you for the concept. I as I told other people and previously to you as well, I don't consider myself futuristic thinking, but it's good to see that other people see me like that. But I guess the places where I normally spend the most time and that I normally extrapolate those things into my job, it's on the video gaming industry. As you know, I like to play video games, and I like to see some of the and I try to stay up to date on the latest news on video games as a user. So whenever I hear ideas about how the video gaming industry keeps the people engaged, then I extrapolate them immediately. I try to extrapolate them immediately. It's a natural thing I do. Like this example where in Fortnite back in 2017, there was this concert where DJ Marshmallow uh, gave a concert inside of the game, and to me, the concept of people connecting to the video game, not to play but to interact with each other, to listen to music, for a different purpose than the original one, to me, and that was actually the real metaverse happening back in the day. It was in 17. I mean, this was a long time before the actual concept of metaverse was mentioned to me. So that was amazing, and I immediately thought about how can that be extrapolated to pharma, right? Uh, and then the other source that I normally find for inspiration is memes. In Instagram, you were mentioning Instagram, so I normally follow very funny pages, and I again my brain immediately extrapolates those, and and starts showing me how this meme could be applied to what we are currently living in omnichannel or digital or agile transformations. And yeah,
An interesting meme which you are able to share?
yes, I have one. I sent it to you if you want to share it. It's one of the funniest I have seen recently, and I already presented it here in
Okay,
my
just to open that meme. I found it certainly very interesting and very proper. So
yeah, actually, yeah. Well, this I saw it. It was applied to a different industry actually, so I adapted it to us to the pharma industry. But this is what it feels like, right? So the sales rep still doing the heavy lifting, connecting with the HCPs, and then everybody else just watching or not even knowing what to do, like some of the people in the picture. So if you see, this is true, and I normally use these memes normally trigger a lot of thinking in my mind, and then this triggers me to start digging deeper and connecting obviously to research and etc. So I have several portals that I normally go to do my research, like Harvard Business Review, or I also do a lot of reading on McKinsey transformational projects, etc. So I try to connect the dots between these funny images and the research that is currently happening in my current reality, and this is a constant thing that it's happening in my brain.
so now we know why we actually need reps. That's very good. Maybe we should buy and invest in some heavy machines so to make them their life much more easier, right?
Yeah, exactly. You got it right there.
Fantastic. You spoke about the metaverse. I mean, you know me, I'm a huge fan of the metaverse. How would you explain the metaverse to a pharma rookie or someone who doesn't understand that at all? Because you know it very well when you speak about the metaverse, immediately people think about Mark Zuckerberg and they will steal my data, they will steal my avatars, my life, etc. So, what is actually a metaverse and how this can be applicable in our industry?
Well, I think the way that I would explain it would be that it's a new playground for engaging with customers, that with a specific type of customers. It's not for everybody. This is true. I would not encourage people to engage through the metaverse with a person who is a baby boomer, for example, because this is exactly the reaction they would have. I would explain them that there is a certain type of customers, mostly from the new generations, that are spending a lot of time in there in a connected environment. That
Like
it's
Nokia.
yeah, yes, exactly. And then I will tell them, well, this is where the customers are in currently, and from this generation, and they are building not just interaction, they're building relationships. So now these customers have the chance and the ability to create trust, to build trust between themselves in a virtual environment without actually seeing each other face to face. And not only that, they are able to develop their own skills. If you see the research, I can also share with you the articles, because I've been doing a lot of research on that. The skills that you can develop in the metaverse, well, or in gaming, right, or in this kind of collaboration platforms, the skills that you can develop are exactly the same as the skills that the World Economic Forum proposed as the skills for the future. So it's exactly the same. But the only difference is that the skills that you're developing in the metaverse are actually built virtually. You don't need to be present anymore. So these people don't need to be present anymore to convince anybody. They don't need to be present to build trust. They don't need to be present to be a leader. They can do all those things in a virtual environment. If you try to give that training to a baby boomer, that's going to be a huge learning curve. And on the other side, this new generation is building it naturally by just spending time in there. This is more or less how I would explain it. And I would tell them that the the companies that are not there, that don't understand how to use it in the future, are probably going to be becoming obsolete at some point, or not being able to be relevant in the minds of their customers.
I mean, we all know that pharma is extremely far away from the metaverse, right? They're not even in meta. And speaking about the metaverse, right? But there are really many different use cases, as you know. I mean, you know that, for instance, Nike in metaverse they had I think 8 million visitors very recently, customers. So that's incredible. And this really thinks me about the fact that it's not what Chema thinks, what I think, or anyone else. It's about the new generation which is coming to the market, and they buy crypto, they enjoy in blockchain, they play Fortnite, they watch others how they play games. So it's a different new world which sometimes we even don't understand, right? And
Yes.
the other topic where you are also very savvy, and I remember your Dubrovnik conversation and pitch where you spoke on stage about the new generation of customers who is approaching, about the Generation Z. And my question is how this will actually reflect our industry, because we know that this generation is quite specific and quite unique as every other generation. But is pharma somehow already ready to engage with such new Generation Z, and how this is? What's your particular experience with that?
Well, I think it's something interesting. My immediate reaction would be no, we are not ready. And I would tell you that we need to do an effort to understand what does it really mean for us, because um, we need to understand, for example, if the uh, two things. If you look at it from the customer perspective, from the HCP, the customers from the Generation Z are less used to to answer surveys. For example, this is one of the insights I know about them. They are less likely to answer a survey. And then that's the first thing. The second part that I really find very interesting is that they are a generation that is willing to share their data in order to they are less scared to share the data because they know that it's a payment that they have to do. They see it like that as a requirement to get a meaningful experience that they're looking for. They're looking for more meaningful experience. And then the third one, which is they're looking for, they are willing to forego a bad experience and stay loyal to your brand, even if they had a bad experience, as long as your brand or your company, it's true to its purpose, or to its values. So to me, those three things, we need to understand them better. Because, for example, this is, oh, sorry, I forgot to mention one more thing that it's very important for us, that we need to understand how is that going to impact us. The third one is they don't need this face-to-face presence, right? So, for example, there is one of the articles that I was reading that in the study that they were doing, the generation said when they had an issue with a service, they would prefer to find their own resources. They would go online, they will do the research, they would find a interactive Q&A or a chatbot, and then they would actually solve their own problem using those tools. Whereas, for example, a baby boomer would actually, if they have a problem with a service, they would go to the store and talk to a person and ask, or call a person and tell them, hey, I need your help. So they need that actual support. So if you think about that, we are currently trying to adapt to this behavior of having a person helping the customers, like the sales rep in the pharma industry, right, or the MSL, and yet this new generation is coming with the behavior of they want to solve their own issues, right? So all these things are going to have implications for us in terms of customer experience and how do we drive that customer experience.
But they also trust in influencers, right? I mean, how can we integrate this part of potential digital influencers? Because we see already that there are some ATPs with a couple of million followers on TikTok, as an example. There are some real examples.
Yeah, completely agree. I mean, they're more likely to follow the advice of an influencer, and yet if you look at the pharma industry, we all the rules that we have and all the uncertainty and fear from certain teams, especially the legal teams and medical teams, we're not allowed to use influencers. It's a no-go. It's like almost a forbidden word in the pharma industry. So we need to speed up the adoption of influencer marketing strategies in the pharma industry to be able to engage with this new organization, this new generation. But I think that even though, so that's just customer. Imagine all those implications just for the customer. Now think about the workforce, the sales reps, the marketing managers, the brand managers from the Generation Z. How are we going to be able to empower them to move at their own speed and provide them with the tools? Exactly what you were saying. So imagine that your new generation, if you have a group of brand managers of 26, 27 years old, and you want them to put together in a face-to-face meeting, and you're forcing them to be in a face-to-face meeting, they're going to be like, why? Why do you want me to go there? I mean, I already have the virtual interaction. I don't need to be face-to-face with you. So we need to understand also those implications. I think we are very far from it.
Exactly. So we are actually not ready for the metaverse. We are not ready for the Generation Z. I mean, let's speak about something about we are ready. Is that maybe AI and data? Because I know you're a huge fan of implementing AI with different use cases in pharma. So what's here the state? Are we progressing here at all? Because this is a topic which is already for many years actual.
Yes, I think we are in the progress of making better use of our own data. For many years, I heard the story that data scientist and data was like really like a very blurry image in the minds of everybody, and it was a buzzword. Everybody wanted to be data driven, etc., etc. But I think that everyday people are understanding that data and the usage of data, it's actually simpler than they were thinking. That is not just about deploying dashboards and having machine learning, etc., but rather that I think people are beginning to understand that it's more a behavior. a real usage of data and marketing orchestration. I think that the pharma industry is moving towards a model where their teams are actually using the data effectively, even without realizing that they're using it. So we are making progress on that end, I think. Artificial intelligence, it's probably a tougher discussion because this is my personal view. So I'm speaking on behalf of Chema only. I have seen in many presentations in different conferences that companies are doing a lot of effort in terms of deploying next best action or predictive analytics, predictive
even
behavior of
experience,
customers.
next best experience. Yeah.
Exactly. But I think we are making a mistake as an industry on going into that direction, because I think the point is that we took machine learning algorithms like the one from Spotify that can predict behavior. So Spotify can predict the mood, right? So this is amazing, right? So we're taking those examples from those companies, but imagine how much data and across how many years Spotify has gathered. I mean, it's huge. Yeah, it's huge. I mean, how much data do they have to be able to feed the algorithm to predict the mood of the people? And they're just getting it now. They're just getting to that point now. So we as a pharma industry, if every company is building their own algorithm with the minimum data that we have, I think we're going towards a place where this is not going to be successful. And again, you see, this is my so it's good that we're building the data. It's good that we're using it, but I think that the vision is ultimately we should try to change that vision, that we are not going to get to the point where it's like Spotify did or Netflix does or Amazon does.
That's true.
Yeah, we just have to be realistic on how much we can actually achieve with those data and with the algorithm that we're creating.
Fantastic. Chema, thanks a lot. Was a lot of fun, and really glad that you were our first guest at the next Pharma Stuff. And of course, seeing you latest in Dubrovnik next year. Take very good care.
Thank you, Dario. Take care.
Bye.
Bye bye.